Welcome to the Leader Mentality Show with Rob Clemens. We are in sunny Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and today I figured it's a good time to talk a little bit about growing your community, growing your business. You know, look, if you're a business owner out there, if you're just a good denizen of what you do, you know, you want to see other people thrive around you. You want to see other people succeed. And more than anything in America, where we have prosperity, we have the right to the American dream of owning your own business, owning your own home. I think it's a good thing for us to be talking about all the time. And so I brought on a special guest with me today. He's just a really good guy. He's fun to talk to. He's all over Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. I don't know how he's doing it.
Late nights and early mornings.
Late nights and early mornings, right. And but anyway, without further ado, I want to introduce you all to the Business Develop and Retention Manager for Partnership Grand Strand of Myrtle Beach, BJ Beaver.
Rob, it's a pleasure to be here today. I thank you for having me on the show.
Man, of course, man. Well, it's good to have you. You know, the way that I first got this idea of talking to you and bringing you on the show is that I see you out, first of all, in the community. You're doing your job, man. You're getting the good word out there. Like, what all have you been up to lately?
Yeah, well, like you said, we're everywhere. We got our hands on a lot of things, but some of the things I'd love to share with you is we recently launched a program called Build Something Amazing, and we did that in partnership with Horry Georgetown Tech, Horry County Schools, South Carolina DO, Department of Workforce, a lot of other partners, Building Talent Foundation. So essentially, this was an opportunity for high school students who are getting ready to graduate. These are seniors who are trying to figure out what's next for them in life to come out and learn about the trade industry. So we gave them an opportunity to speak with 30 different local employers in the trades and say, hey, what opportunities do you have for me right now? And along with that, we gave them information on if you were to become a plumber, here's a starting wage as a plumber. If you want to go to school to be a plumber, here's where you can go. You don't want to go to school, that's okay. Here's an apprenticeship that you can go right into that. So we gave them really the pathway of how to be successful in the trades industry. We recognize that college isn't for everyone, and I'm a college graduate.
Yeah,
I worked
here.
I worked in higher education for 10 years, so I'm definitely an advocate of higher education, but we recognize, again, that's not for everyone. So, and we know that in our community, we need folks in the trades, and we need those folks to support workforce. So we want to make sure that the students who aren't interested in going to a higher education pathway, they know what they can do in our community versus just trying to scrap and find a job to survive.
Oh, no doubt about it. Well, you know, one of the things that I'm a Shantz grad, Coastal Carolina grad. Shantz up always. You too. All right. See, man, I knew I liked you.
Man, we get along well.
Right. But you know, one thing that I believe is that every young person coming up, they need to have that good feeling about themselves. You know, self-esteem's a big part of it, and sometimes self-esteem comes from knowing that you can do something really well.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's from staying away from things you don't do so well. You know. And so if you're a kid out there and you're trying to figure out where you fit in, college may be your spot, and if so, go for it. Man, go to college if that's your spot. But if not, we got a home for you. Let me ask you something about this. You talked about this huge partnership between several different ventures. You mentioned Doug Obenauer with the Building Talent Foundation. Love Doug, man. No, he's been on the show, real good guy. What brought it to your attention that this needed to be done at all? How has that come up?
So if you're familiar with the larger event in our community called Pathways to Possibilities, it's an event for 8th graders, and it's a career exploration event. And through another partnership with the school district, we spoke to some other employers, and they were like, dang, man, it'd be great if we did this for high school seniors because we need them. And we don't feel like they quite know what the options are.
Yeah.
And so through a lot of collaboration, as you mentioned, with Doug and other partners, we're like, how can we bring this to life? So we went to Horry Georgetown Tech. They loved it. They supported it. They gave us a space to do it. And we really just made it happen. And it's been super impactful. The students loved it. They thanked some of the staff for letting them come. And again, it's just all about getting them plugged into an avenue where they feel like they fit, like you said earlier.
Dude, I'm going to tell you something, man. I don't even think it's just about even that we're presenting the opportunity. I think it's our responsibility to give young people this chance.
I agree.
You know, it's kind of like I use the analogy of and this is true of our employees, this is true of the kids. If you have kids right now, it's true of whoever you're mentoring. If I told somebody, hey, I need you to go to New York. All right, we're in Myrtle Beach right now. Look it up on a map if you don't know where we're at. I think everybody knows where Myrtle Beach is. But if I said, I need you to get to New York tomorrow, and that person started driving on 95 headed south, it's on me, I believe, if I don't say, hey, listen, wait a minute, you're going the wrong direction, let me turn you around. And I believe it's our responsibility to sometimes give them that other option, because there's nothing sadder to me than to think of somebody who could be 45 years old one day, and not that that's old, but maybe by that time of your career you've been kind of typecast, and to find out, man, I could have had a career in the military, in construction, in whatever it could be that might have been a better life for them.
Absolutely. I'll kind of steal some words from our Lieutenant Governor. She tells a story about the stigma behind one of her children going to Clemson and going to a 4-year college, and that child actually went a different route and is very successful because they went a different route. And I think there's such a stigma that college is necessary to be successful, and not that you can't be successful going to college, but you got to know what all your alternatives are, because you don't want to spin your wheels and not get to where you're going to end up being in 15 years from now.
That's right. Well, and we kind of know this intrinsically. If you like playing video games when you're a little kid, you don't just pop one video game in and play that. You're going to try out everything.
Exactly.
That's what the whole show's about, man. It's all about video game analogies.
We'll keep them going as we finish up. Right?
I'll just play with you. Well, hey, we got a little ahead of ourselves. Let me ask you a little bit about Partnership Grand Strand. How was it founded? What's the point?
Absolutely. So I'll tell a story. When I go out in the community, and I know you said you've seen us in a lot of different places, seen me in a lot of different places, folks are like, what in the heck is Partnership Grand Strand? I don't understand what you do and who you are, right? And I'm like, well, we don't either, but we're out here now. So we are a community foundation that was created by the Myrtle Beach Chamber of Commerce. We are a little bit separate than the chamber. We have our own board of directors. And essentially, we have local businesses that we consider to be our investors, and they invested in our mission of accelerating the prosperity of the Grand Strand. And when you say, well, BJ, how do you figure out how'd you get there, right? There was a market analysis in our community saying, like, here are the 4 things that if you could work on in this community, it would make it better for everyone.
Okay.
And those 4 things, and we can talk more detail about it, but would be talent attraction, so workforce development.
And by the way, before you dive too deep into that, let me ask you this. Is this 4 things for Myrtle Beach in particular, or is this 4 things of any community?
Thank you for bringing me back to that. This is for the entire Grand Strand.
Okay,
the entire county. You can include Georgetown in that as well.
Gotcha.
And that may be a little bit of how we are a little bit separate from maybe the chamber, because they focus on so much of what's happening in Myrtle Beach, where, if you're in Loris or if you're in Georgetown or you're anywhere in the county and we have a resource that we can offer you as a business owner or as a student who's looking to get into a career pathway, we're going to offer that to you. So we're not specific just to the downtown Myrtle Beach proper, as we would call it.
That makes good sense. Okay. Well, all right. So let's dive back in. You talked about this is important for the Grand Strand community, and I would suspect probably any growing community out there in the country. So if you're listening today, listen up. These are some good places to go. So talk about workforce development.
Yeah, absolutely. So, as our community grows, we've recognized that, we need workforce to support the folks who are moving into our community. But also, there's been kind of a brain drain, is kind of the term behind it, is we're seeing that young people are leaving our community for other opportunities. They're looking, it could be employment, it could be a lifestyle. There's a variety of different things folks may want to get out.
No, these young people thinking the grass is greener on the other side. You're in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and you're like, there got to be some better place for me.
I'm very biased when I travel for work. I'm like, I can't wait to get back home. I'm very biased. But, there for some folks, there are better opportunities out there for them. So, and we recognize that, right? But I think from a workforce perspective, it's like, are they really aware of all what's here? Are they really aware of the great jobs, the cost of living, the things that our community offers that a lot of people, as they get a little older, they're rushing here to get. So we want to make sure that they're aware of those opportunities from a workforce perspective.
Yeah, well, I would say that from the Myrtle Beach perspective, and again, for the intents and purposes of this whole conversation, we'll say Myrtle Beach, but we know we're talking about surrounding communities as well. If you're in Orlando, there's Kissimmee and all these areas, or wherever you're at in the country. So for this area, do we feel, from a workforce perspective, where do we feel like we have the biggest lacking? You mentioned construction a little bit ago, and that's across the whole country for sure. Yeah. Is there any other places where we need people that we're not getting them right now that you can think of?
Yeah, I mean, and again, I don't want to perceive this as a negative thing, right? Sure. But we definitely need help in healthcare.
Yeah.
Our friends in hospitality obviously need some assistance as well. When we talk, really all industry, because again, our population of Horry County, let's just use that, it's around 300,000 people or so. So when we're talking about all the folks, the 18 million people who are here during the summer, in comparison to what our full-time population is, we need workforce, right? Houses are being built and services are being rendered in all industries, but primarily, to answer your question, where we see a lot of need would obviously be in the trades. Healthcare would be one. We're talking about now technology and maybe having a technology ecosystem. So we're going to need engineers and software programmers and things like so all those things are kind of in the pipeline.
And you know what I love about Myrtle Beach in particular, and this show, it airs all over the place, sure. but for those of you who have heard of it, you don't really know that much about it. Myrtle Beach is bustling, man. Yeah. And it is one of those places, if you ever talk to some of those guys at the city, they'll tell you this is meant to be a hot spot for technology and innovation, working on smart city features. So if you're a young person out there and you're thinking about leaving, we want to keep you here. But if you're from another area, come on down to Myrtle Beach and come to Coastal Carolina, Sean.
That's right.
Right. All right, cool. So that was one of the pillars is business development. Tell me about the other three.
Yeah. So the other pillar and I'll just kind of walk through just quickly one at a time, but we also work on our prosperity pillar, which is small business development, retention, and entrepreneurship. We have around 8,000 small businesses in Horry County. That's a large amount.
Man.
When you think about other communities that have larger employers like a Boeing or a BMW, a lot of jobs are filled by those larger employers. We don't quite have an employer to that scale. So when we talk about what fuels our community, it's these local small businesses that, and really I don't want to call them small businesses because they're a big deal in our community,
sure.
but our local businesses that help fuel our economy. So we also recognize that those businesses may need some support in how to get access to capital, how to get access to talent, how to help create a business plan, those essential skills that you may need to help scale up your business. We want to make sure that they know where to go to do that. And I'll share, that's a partnership as well. We're not the one-stop shop, be all, say all. We work with our other partners in the community like SCORE or business development with the city of Myrtle Beach or other entities that specialize in those areas, so we can make sure we're referring businesses to where they need to find that help.
The right resource for them. Okay, well, so here's what I love about what you're saying. As I started the show off, I mentioned this is a country where you can start your own business. That's a beautiful thing about capitalism, right? You can start your own business. You can be your own boss, if you will. I always tell people who are thinking about becoming a business owner, you go from having one boss to having a whole bunch of bosses, every customer who walks through the door. But regardless.
That's right.
The thing is that I think in that American dream, a lot of people don't have those resources. Maybe you haven't grown up under a family that has owned businesses, or worked under a person who you got to see what they did. So you do need help. You do need resources. I was at a Partnership Grand Strand meeting the other day, and we were doing it on Zoom, and they were going through a business. It was almost like I guess they created a company manual for this gentleman.
That's right.
And there were some SOPs sort of alluded to and things, and he said, I've been running this business for a while, but I never had this stuff. And now he goes, I feel like I've kind of forced myself to do things the right way.
Yeah. I mean, what we find is that a lot of businesses are very busy working in their business. They may not have the time to work on their business.
Yeah.
And so when you're in that position, it's like, how do I grow? How do I scale? And to that meeting was great. That was in partnership. And I'll keep talking about partnerships, but that was in partnership with Coastal Carolina with their community business engagement department.
Yes.
And those students helped create a SOP and an HR handbook for this gentleman who really needed it. And he, like you said, he said, I could do it, but I don't have the time to do it. I got to keep running my business.
Man, and it's like he could do it. And I hear a lot of business owners talk like this over time. I could build my own website. I could do this. And sometimes you have to if you don't have the money to do things, and you do have to. But somebody who does it a lot can do it better. And that's the thing. I want to get the best version if I'm a business owner. And the thing is that I'll talk about this trek of businesses. You have the small business that starts off and they have no resources and no income yet, and they're figuring it all out, and you guys could help them. But then I look at that guy or gal who is a next level up. They've already figured out they can make money doing this, right? And but what happens is there's a danger zone in there, and that danger zone is you go below the radar and you're doing whatever you're doing. You don't even realize you're breaking rules. You might be breaking rules, you don't even know. And then you grow just a little bit, and all of a sudden you're on the radar, and you didn't do that thing with OSHA that you should have done, or you don't do that reporting that you should have done. So I believe that if you guys help with that, that's a major thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we want to try to make sure businesses know what compliance things are out there. Again, that may not be something that we do internally, but we're going to make sure that you know, like, hey, here's a new compliance thing for OSHA coming out. We want to make sure that the businesses know about it. Or, hey, here's a new way to file taxes for 2025. Okay, you need to know about that. It's all about just making sure that there's an awareness piece. And one thing I really want to get out on this is that we have a coordinator who goes out in the community, and she actually sits down with businesses. We call this a business retention and expansion survey. And she'll go through this survey with you as a business owner, and we're trying to track pain points or what's going really well. Right. And so we take that feedback from what the community is telling us they need, and then we build the programming that we offer around that. Or if we say, hey, this company is doing this really well, we'll say, Rob, would you mind being a mentor to this company because you're doing this great? Can I just connect you with this person? Maybe you share them a few tips with them, that type of thing. So really, we're more of a convener versus a person who's going out and building all the time.
They're connecting people. I love it. I love it. Let's take a quick time out. So those are really great starting two pillars. So what else you got?
Yeah, so our other pillar is place, which is we do that in partnership with the Myrtle Beach Downtown Alliance. And what that place pillar really does is to make sure that Myrtle Beach is a good place to live for its residents. So it could be putting the Downtown Alliance is working on a master plan with the city. So I won't steal their thunder on that, but we support them in their initiatives to make sure that Myrtle Beach is downtown Myrtle Beach specifically is a great place for its residents to live. So that's that pillar. And then the other pillar is our infrastructure policy pillar. And we do that under the leadership of Jimmy Gray at the Chamber. And so when you think of things like Ride 4 that just passed in our community, we had a role in that in helping to make sure that that was passed and make sure we have funds for infrastructure to expand roadways or build new roadways, those types of things. So more so on, again, not policy and like we're creating laws, but policies that impact infrastructure and those types of things.
Well, you have to do that. I mean, I really believe, and as you talked about, these are things that were identified for the Myrtle Beach area. Very true. But I think any, like we said, young community needs to really be looking at this. You think about something like the place. How are you presenting it? So from my perspective in Myrtle Beach, and I've been here, since I came to college here, and that's been a little longer than
you don't have to say that out
loud.
Hey,
listen, dude, you graduate college and you'll be like, yeah, it's only been a few years. And after a while, you start saying, it's been about 20 years. You start getting it. But no, the thing is that I've seen this community grow, but there's always that thing where you have to take a good look. You don't want to go the way of the dinosaurs. You don't want to be like, well, man, we had this hot thing and then we kind of lost track of it and all of a sudden it fell off. Think about that business that looked so strong for so long, Kmart. Think about Kmart, man. That was the place that so many people shopped at for so many years, and they kind of miss a beat or two and all of a sudden they're not here anymore. So I think communities can be that. And so it's good to take a look at how is it being perceived by the people.
Absolutely.
Right? And then you talked about the infrastructure. Look, if people can't get there, there's no purpose in even having the place. I don't care what you got, man. You can have the Garden of Eden right here. You can't get there, it doesn't matter, right?
Doesn't matter at all.
So with that being said, that was a big win, man. And I think it's a really good thing for this area that they continue to say, hey, look, let's spend the money on developing these roads, get it done right.
Exactly.
Yeah, very cool. Well, BJ, man, I appreciate you explaining that about Partnership Grand Strand, and we'll circle back around to that at the end. But you being the business development and retention manager, how did you get to this role? When you were in third grade, were you like, I want to be a business development and retention manager one day?
Rob, I'm still trying to figure out when I want to be when I grow up. I'm still trying to figure that out. I really fell into this role. I am a local. I went to Socastee High School at the Coastal Carolina. We shared that. And quickly after that, I worked for Miller Mock College, which was a private private college in Conway.
Okay.
And about 2 years ago, I was in a program that the chamber offered called Partnership Grand Strand. And it was all about developing leaders in our community. And my former employer provided an opportunity for me to go through the program. And while I was in that class, the executive director of the chamber at the time, Karen, came in and said, hey, we're creating this foundation and we're focusing on workforce and we want to retain talent. And I've always had a passion to make sure that to tell my story, like growing up here, when you say you're from here, a lot of folks are like, how did you, like, we don't know locals, you're a rare breed, right? And so I'm like, I want to stay in my community and I really want to develop my community to what I want it to be. And so when I heard about the foundation, that's really what got me excited to come aboard. It's just a great opportunity to give back, to let folks know what's available, why Myrtle Beach is so great. I ran into a classmate not too long ago, and he was like, yeah, man, I'm looking for my opportunity to get out of here. And I'm like, bro, make it what you want it to be.
Absolutely.
And I think that if we have that mentality as young professionals in the community, like, let's make Myrtle Beach what we want it to be. We know tourism is our bread and butter. We know we're going to support that. That helps pay for roads and all the other things that we take advantage of. But when you're talking about your personal life and what you want to accomplish, you can make that happen here.
Man, I look at it like like a dirty room scenario. You know, you got one personality type, they look around, they go, man, this room is sure dirty. And they're just pointing out, man, that's dirty. And that looks so nasty. Another person gets over there and says, hey, I'm going to start cleaning this thing up. I don't, let's make this a better place. And Myrtle Beach is far from the dirty, so don't use that analogy. But the point I'm making is you got people who are always trying to develop and make something better for the future. And you got other people with more negative mindset and trying to pick it apart. So I appreciate where you came from and what you're doing with, just trying to make this place what you think it could be.
Absolutely.
Well, very cool. Well, let me ask you this. So you went to Leadership Grand Strand yourself. You are affiliated with the Myrtle Beach Chamber of Commerce through the Partnership Grand Strand, and of course all the things that they're trying to do with lifting up others. In your time doing Leadership Grand Strand or otherwise, what have you learned to be some good leadership traits and ways of doing things?
I think so. The one thing that I always try to keep in mind as I'm leading any type of team or anyone in general, even my household, is listen more than you talk, right? Because if you can understand where someone's coming from, their perspective, whether you agree with it or not, but you fully listen, open ears to where someone's coming from, you get way more accomplished. If you go into the room and say, hey, this is what I want to get done, and it doesn't matter how I'm going to do it, you're not as successful in my experience. So you really got to be an active listener.
I agree with that. I'm going to go ahead and piggyback off of that and say, when people talk about my leader acronym, and you can see it on the board from where you're sitting, there's two things at the top and bottom, and I did it like this for a reason. The L in leadership is learning continuously, and the R is receptive. And I put them sandwiching it all because I believe that sometimes, and we have to, all people, as you go up through the food chain, you have to be very careful not to get to that point where you think you know everything. Because sometimes you're not picking up things that you could have learned from somebody else just because you've been through it. And it's that manager out there who somebody brings them to an idea to them. And every time they go, oh, we thought about that. Just get back to work. It's like, well, wait a minute. There might be another twist on that idea that you hadn't heard. Or there might be just the wrong team at the time you first brought that idea in. So times change, people evolve. Man, I love that. So that's a good one. Listen more than you talk sometimes.
Listen more than you talk. And then I would say, don't ask someone to do something that you wouldn't do yourself, right? Treat the janitor the same way you treat the CEO. You can kind of make that analogy, but what I found is by treating people with respect, they buy into the goals that you're trying to get into. So if I say, hey, I appreciate where you're coming from, I respect you as an employee, or I respect you as a team member, whatever it is, the buy-in level is that much more. You can't do everything by yourself. You can't do things in a vacuum. So if you're talking about leader, obviously you're talking about leading people. How can you lead people if they don't believe in you and if you don't respect them? So
and look, going hand in hand with that, it's sort of, there's an element of it is, do they understand the mission at all? So and I'll use this again. If you're again driving down to Florida, I say, BJ, if you're my employee, I say, hey, BJ, drive down to Miami tomorrow for me, okay? And you're just driving down to Miami. Why am I doing this? Why am I spending this gas and all that? If I said, BJ, I need you to go to Miami tomorrow. We got a person that's going to be a big client of ours. I want you to be the person in charge of really making sure they understand what the values of the company are. All of a sudden, you might have bought in and you might have said, well, hey, when I go down, should I bring the limo with me?
right. What should I do?
But at that point, you're buying into the concept. And so we as leaders in whatever our domain is, we need to understand. Let people understand the vision. When they understand the vision, they can get bought in, right?
That's exactly right. And that kind of piggybacks to my last thing, effective communication, right?
Yeah.
Like if they don't understand the goal, the mission, what you're trying to accomplish, if you're not asking questions, hey, do you understand where we're trying to, like, you can't assume that people always understand what's going on up here, right? So you got to communicate effectively. And if you do that, again, it just makes the process go so much easier.
Absolutely. It's funny because I think about the way that, my wife and I communicate, but you think about it, it's so different.
Yeah.
And like we tend to do this thing where we like to talk to people the way that we like to be talked to. And in this way, it would seem like the right thing to do. But the truth of the matter is everybody learns different.
That's right.
Everybody processes things different. Their emotions are different.
That's right.
And the thing that I kind of found out years ago from my perspective is I think of people like plants.
Yeah.
You water some plants too much, it wilts and dies. You water some plants not enough, it wilts and dies. So you got to understand, what does this person need? And in that way, some people need a little push, some people need a pull. You never know.
That's exactly right. Everyone's a little different. So.
Yeah. Cool, man. I dig it, man. This is very cool stuff. BJ, you are doing amazing things in the Myrtle Beach area, and we got a few minutes left. I would like to talk a little bit about how can people get involved with Partnership Grand Strand, whether you need some guidance or whether you just want to help out.
Absolutely. So, the best way for folks to get involved is to either connect with myself or Sarah Dahlstrom. You can reach either one of us and go to our website. But really what we need is, especially on the workforce front, is we need employers to really engage with some of the programs that we're doing, because I think there's a certain feeling of I won't call it hopelessness, but there's a certain feeling of, I don't know what to do as a young person coming out of high school or college. I don't know what direction to go. And we know that these employers have opportunities for these students, but where we're finding some challenge is saying, like, hey, here's an event, here's build something amazing.
Sure.
We have 8,000 employers in this community, 8,000 small businesses, and to only have 30 participate in that event, that's kind of a missed opportunity.
Yeah.
So we would love for businesses just to, they can follow us on socials, or all those things are great, but, just reach out to us and say, hey, how can I get involved in, I own this type of business in this industry, and we have a little bit of something for everyone. So we would love to see more participation from our local businesses in these events as we're building them up. Or if you're a small business and you need a resource, reach out as well and just say, hey, I need help with marketing. Is there anything that you can tell me, any resources you can point us in the direction? Because we are a community resource. We're not asking for membership. A lot of the things we do don't cost any money to the business. So we're just really, truly here to offer a resource, and we want to try to help as many businesses as we can.
Man, that's awesome. So partnershipgrandstrand.com?
Yep, you can go to partnershipgrandstrand.com. You can email me at bj.beaver@partnershipgrandstrand.com, and we're happy to get you connected in any way we can.
That's awesome. I'm going to put you on the spot with one last question then for you. It's a two-parter, okay? Tell me something in your time that you think that you've seen businesses do that has not worked out so well, one of the reasons they might be struggling and need some help at this point, and tell me something good that you've seen. So give me one of both if you can.
One thing that I don't want to say this as a negative, right? But one thing that I think businesses, as we start a small business, maybe we don't have the proper HR practices that we may need.
Yeah.
So how to hire, how to onboard, how to evaluate an employee. Again, you're just so busy operating your business that as long as someone shows up and does the job, that's it, right? But we know that the talent in the country is really kind of scaling above that. So how do you give someone a raise? Well, you do that through an evaluation. Do you have an evaluation in process? No, I don't have that. So then that person may say, well, that business doesn't support me, so I'm going to leave.
Man, we could have started the whole conversation on that, because truthfully, I believe that's a major thing. You hit on a lot of topics. Do they have a job description? Do they understand what they were supposed to be doing in the first place? Yeah. So what you're saying is some of these people, again, you need help if you ever want to grow and you want to thrive, but they're missing some of the checkpoints, so they might be losing talent or not even retaining talent.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, the talent retention game is tough, right? Because post-COVID, if someone's paying maybe 10 cents more an hour, an employee may be enticed to go do that, right?
Yeah.
But if you can keep them through a retention program of, hey, here's an evaluation, you did great, here's a raise, or hey, we're going to give you some PTO, or whatever's appropriate for your business. If you're putting your employees in a position where they understand the expectations and they know how to grow within your organization. I'll get all that's kind of HR minded, but if you're in that space, that's how you're seeing companies retain talent.
I heard this thing the other day. I thought it was a really good one. It was online, and I don't know who said it, or I would give him the credit, but he said, sometimes employees come in when they're looking for a raise, and they'll come in and say, hey, I'd like a raise right now. And he said, basically what you're effectively doing is you're saying, so you want more money to do the same thing you're doing right now. Right. And that's not really attractive to a decision maker. You know what I mean? Oh, you're going to cost me more money for the... But he said, if you come in and you say, what can I do to be more helpful to the company growing? What can make me a more critical member of the organization? That gives some initiative, and it shows somebody somewhere to go. So very cool. So did you have one that you think you've seen a company doing well that you would recommend?
I'll give a shout out to Britain Resorts. They recently have kind of followed a structure where if you want, and they'll say this, if you want a job, we got jobs for you. And what they mean by that is, if you want a job, walk in and we'll talk to you on the spot. We're going to follow up with you immediately. If you submit an application, there's a very short timetable that they're going to follow up with you on.
Sure.
What we're seeing out in the communities, and this is more on social media, so you don't know how much truth is to all this, but you're hearing job seekers say, I put in 100 applications and no one's called me back. And that may just be because someone's busy, right? But if you're the company that's kind of on it, like, oh, we got an application, we're going to call you right now.
Yeah.
That makes a difference. That creates a culture where we want you to be here. We want to help you find a job. We want to help you stay in our community. So I'll give them a shout out for that, because I think that's a great initiative. If you want a job, we got jobs. Walk in the door.
I agree, and it also puts out an air of organization, competence. You know, if I'm seeing something where you haven't even responded to me, I'm like, did you even get the application? Do you even care about this position? So that's very cool. Well, look, that's actually some very good stuff. I'm going to leave everybody off with a quick thought, and that is, I've had this discussion with some business owners in the past, people who are looking to, really go someplace in the world. I said, the little mistake that you made on a job site, the little thing that you didn't get that one sell because you said the wrong thing maybe, those aren't the things that are going to kill your business. The things that will crush your business are that lawsuit that happens because you didn't have a good protocol for something. It's that thing that you did that was against the law that you didn't know about. So if you're out there, you need some resource. You just need sometimes just fellowship amongst other business owners and leaders. Reach out, get somebody to help you out, and if you need some support in your local, check out Partnership Grand Strand. Right?
Yes, sir.
BJ Beaver.
Hey,
thanks for being
it,
on.
Rob. Thank you so much.
Man, great resources. And look, for all you guys at home listening, we appreciate it. Keep lifting up and inspiring others. And we appreciate you guys checking out Leader Mentality Show. We'll see y'all next time, and be well.
Thanks, Rob.